is now 7:01, and I'm calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, January 26, 2026. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Donahue?
Here.
Ms. Fosdick? Ms. Gentz?
Here.
Mr. Karubas?
Here.
Mr. Rising?
Here.
Ms. Deming?
Present.
Ms. Grover?
We have a quorum. Ms. Grover, will you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next regular board meeting will be held on Monday, February 3rd. We have one board salute tonight. Ms. Grover.
District 204 Spelling Bee winners. The board salutes Shruti Ayagari, 8th grade student from Granger Middle School, who captured the first place title at the 2026 Indian Prairie School District Spelling Bee on Tuesday, January 20th. Sachin Jabshetty, 7th grade student from Skellen Middle School, took 2nd place, and Kiara Kotari, 7th grade student from Crone Middle School, won 3rd place. 21 students from all 7 middle schools in the district participated in the event. The top 3 students from District 204 will compete in the Scripps DuPage County Spelling Bee Final on Thursday, February 19th in Addison. Congratulations to Shruti, Sachin, and Kiara.
Let's give them a round of applause for that. All right, next we have our student representative report by Kylie Tran from Neuqua Valley High School.
Good evening. My name is Kylie Tran, and I am proud to serve as the student representative for Neuqua Valley this year. It is a new year for the Wildcats, and we are heading into it strong. The beginning of second semester has been an exciting time for both incoming Wildcats and our current seniors who are eagerly awaiting their college decisions. I know I'm overwhelmed with emotion as I think about what the next 4 years look like for me. Earlier this month, our school gave a big Wildcat welcome to the incoming class of 2030, giving 8th graders a glimpse into everything Neuqua has to offer. The evening began with a presentation in the auditorium led by our principal, Dr. Fuhrer, followed by time to explore the many activities at Neuqua. Student leaders from athletics and clubs hosted booths to promote their programs and demonstrate their Wildcat pride. Following the Crystal concert in December, our music department continues to shine with their annual Masterworks concert, highlighting the dedication and talent of our music students. Last weekend, our theater department put the spotlight on freshmen in the Freshman One Acts. This show gives freshmen the opportunity to be mentored by upperclassmen, while upperclassmen gain experience in directing their own acts. Last week, we also hosted the Trades and TEE Fair in the LMC. It was an exciting opportunity for students to explore future pathways, along with getting some goodies that everyone enjoyed. It is often that our school is always open. It feels like our school's always open, with wrestling tournaments, swim meets, gymnastic meets, and basketball games happening every week. I supported our basketball teams at the most recent home games, and the energy in the gym was electric, especially for the boys varsity team, who's been having a great season. We have many exciting events coming up, including the annual Orchestra Showcase, which I make a point to attend every year because the dancers never fail to amaze me. Another highlight is the variety show, where students have the opportunity to show their talent on the big stage. I went last year and I couldn't take my eyes off the performances, so I'm excited to see what this year has in store. Finally, this week we'll be kicking off our Wellness Week, which will involve daily fitness activities, acai bowls, therapy dogs, and activities in our recharge room for students to participate in. Today, I actually dropped into the recharge room during my lunch period to play Just Dance. I'm always looking forward to sharing the next Neuqua event, and I'm honored to be able to share it with you. Thank you for your time this evening, and go Wildcats.
Thank you. So our school spotlight tonight is Neuqua Valley, and Kylie will be back up here, Dr. Fuhrer and Carrie Cahill.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for giving us this opportunity tonight to shine a light on Neuqua Valley High School. My name is Dr. Lance Fear, and it's my privilege to serve as principal.
My name is Carrie Cahill. I'm an assistant principal for operations.
And I'm Kylie. I'm a current senior in the class of 2026.
Welcome back. So we chose, rather than a special event or a unique program, we chose a concept that we feel is really important to our school and that we try to build in to everything we do, whether it's something fun or serious, academic or activity or athletic based. This idea of community is something that we want to build. We know it's important to our district, and it's really important to us. So that is a theme that we always have every year is whatever we plan and we do, how can we be sure to think about how we are building community as we are doing the other goals with the events?
Community is important to us as it is a foundation for so many of our ambitions. It helps us build strong relationships between our students and staff. It also creates confidence among the people that are part of it, which makes a huge difference to our students. Community shapes the journeys by empowering our students to make really good choices, and all of these foster student success at Neuqua.
So, what does community look like at Neuqua Valley? We think it's when students are engaging in service activities that are benefiting the community, when we can be present and out in our neighborhoods, when we can help our big school feel smaller, and when we can energize the resources we have to help the community and help our students.
So one of the ways in which we do that actually begins in the summer with something we call our Wildcat Wagon. So for the past 4 years, we visit each year anywhere from 2 to 4 elementary or middle schools. We contact the school in the spring, ask if we can kind of park our Wildcat Wagon there on a single day in the summer. We put some signs out in the neighborhoods for each of the schools in advance, and we do some giveaways, we play some fun games. Probably one of the coolest things is just to see parents at that time, rather than nervous, I think they're just excited about all the opportunities with high school and what it has to offer. They're excited for their students to be future Neuqua Valley Wildcats. And it's a really good opportunity for us to address any questions the community has and just to see us in a different way than a school. We really go out into the community to try to see the people that are there. And we think that's really important to be visible and to be a part of the community as well.
So a great way that we make our big school feel smaller is through individual and small opportunities for academic support. And one of these examples is every Wednesday we start the day with a program called Access. And during this time, our faculty are able to help students in specific classes that they may need help on. Students can make an appointment or just show up in the morning. And I've definitely used this throughout my 4 years of high school, and it's been really helpful when I have like a missing assignment because of club or activity that I might have missed school for, and then just asking my teachers for help if I need it. We also have lunchtime and after-school programs that run throughout the year. We're always there to help.
Another fun activity that we have is our Wildcat Kickoff, which typically happens the Friday before school starts. We invite our community to come out to the front circle of Neuqua. We'll have food trucks, music, some games for students. Wildcat Wear is open for people to purchase some Neuqua apparel. Our marching Wildcats perform along with our cheer team. And our boosters and PTSA co-sponsor this event with us.
Dunk tank, definitely the most popular.
And community service is another significant part of our student activities program, whether it's making blankets for families in need or creating lessons for younger children that are part of our We Wildcats preschool. I've actually been part of both of these activities through Interact Volunteering Club, making blankets for people in West Virginia, and it's a really great opportunity because I get to bond with my friends, just making blankets with them and then just enjoying the time on the weekend with them. And then also the We Wildcat Preschool, which has been one of my favorite classes at Neuqua because it's given me an outlet to be creative in making lesson plans for little kids, and the preschoolers just never fail to have a smile on their faces, and they make me smile. We also have our Wildcat Cafe, which goes on during lunch periods, and it's a great way to get something hot to drink, especially on the cold days we've been having. It's like a mini Starbucks at our school.
Yeah, super fun. We also like to take advantages, not only our school going into the community, but bringing the community back into our school. Kylie talked about earlier, 2 events just in the past week. One is coming up, is Wellness Week and our Trades Fair. In both cases, our Wellness Week invites local providers to deal with mental health and other wellness challenges that can come in and really open students' eyes and normalize some of those conversations, that those not only can be careers that kids could pursue, but they're also these resources in the community, that some of the things they might be feeling are what adults feel as well and is normal, and to seek help is normal as well. Really, one of the cool things that's happening at our school is students are choosing, not in great numbers, but a wider variety of choices after high school. They want to know more about trades programs and the options and opportunities that are there for kids, whether you think about hiring prospects or you think about salary, 2 things that kids think about. They are very interested, and those prospects are very high right now. And when you compare them to the daunting costs of college, that becomes even more appealing to our families. Probably our biggest event is a week-long career fair that we do just prior to course selection. We have about 100, more than 100 different career experts come in. This is a 5-day event, all lunch hours, 5 lunch hours, 5 days in a row. We fill our LMC with career guests. And students know, for example, what a job might be as you would read it in the newspaper or see it on TV or social media. What they don't know is what the daily job looks like. A great example is how many hours a lawyer typically spends in a courtroom. Most lawyers don't. It's not the shows they see on TV. Amplify that to all the other professions that kids see and experience and at least think they know about. They really get to know people. Our community loves this. That was our first goal, is to convince them the first year we did this, please come back. So we wanted them to have a great experience, not just for our kids, and the response has been tremendous. Every year it's grown, and I love to hear that the adults are like, I want to go back to school. They're seeing what students are asking them, and they're seeing the environment at our school, which we're, of course, really proud of.
Finally, we are very excited for our community to be under one roof. The projects, which we know you're very familiar with, are for our next generation of Wildcats. Our vision is for us to have an exciting and vibrant school that serves our students, staff, and the community with thoughtful designs, innovative programs, and our exceptional staff.
And on behalf of the students, staff, and families, thank you so much for this opportunity to share the importance of community at Neuqua Valley High School with you.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to hear all the things that you're doing because Neuqua is a very large school, so it's wonderful that you have done so many different things to welcome students and to keep them part of the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say 2 things. Wildcat Wagon was at Clow this year, and I still have a picture on my my dresser in my office with regards to was taken that day. Yeah. And then the job fair, I think, was really tremendous because it was such a wide variety of jobs. There was a court stenographer who was there who really it was eye-opening about what they do in the courtroom and the machine they use. It's just truly fascinating, and I think a lot of students had an opportunity to learn something that they may not have known about any number of jobs. So well done, both for all of those events.
Thank you.
All right, we have no public comment tonight. Next, we have our consent agenda and superintendent report. We'll move now to our superintendent report.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue. Members of the Board of Education and Indian Prairie community, I remind all families that registration is now open for our 4th annual Mental Health Symposium. You can find information on our website. The event takes place March 7th at Mattia High School. The Indian Prairie Education Foundation is preparing for its Inspire Breakfast fundraiser. The event will take place at White Eagle Golf Club on March 26th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Tickets right now are on sale, and there is an early bird discount until February the 12th. Either attending the event or sponsoring the event supports IPF and the programs they provide to our students. The College Board recently awarded AP Honor Roll distinction to high schools. Schools can receive either the bronze, silver, gold, or platinum status.
For the 24-25 school year, which was last school year, our schools received the following awards: Matia Gold, Neuqua Gold, and Wabanzi Silver. There are 3 criteria by which the schools are evaluated. Those criteria are as follows: college culture, which is the percent of students in the graduating class who took an AP exam at one point in high school, regardless of their AP score. College credit, percent of students in the graduating class who scored a 3 or higher on any AP exam. And finally, college optimization, percent of students in the graduating class who took 5 or more AP exams in high school, where at least one exam was taken in 9th or 10th grade. For all 3 of our high schools, they each were evaluated at the platinum level for college credit and college optimization. Matia and Neuqua were evaluated at the gold level for college culture, and Wabanzi was at the silver level for college culture. A school's overall evaluation is based upon the lowest level obtained. Hence the reason Matia and Neuqua are gold and Wabanzi is silver. I applaud the work that our staff are doing at those 3 schools to optimize opportunities for students and the advanced placement program. Well done to all 3 of them. Ms. Donahue, I'll now turn it back to you.
All right. I need a motion for the approval of consent agenda items D through P.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items D through P.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Gentz,
Yes.
Ms. Grover,
Yes.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Ms. Demme, and Mr. Karubas.
Yes.
There was a lot of stuff in that consent agenda, and congratulations, Mr. Robinson, for all the work here. So, all right, next up, I need a motion to approve the core resource and integrated extended text for use beginning in the 26-27 school year.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve the core resources and integrated extended text for use beginning the 2026-2027 school year as presented.
Second.
Is there a second?
Natasha.
Oh, okay. Any discussion? Okay, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Grover, Mr. Karubas,
Yes.
Ms. Demme, Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
and Ms. Gentz.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Let's see.
One more.
Need a motion to approve the curriculum revisions to standard level and Project Arrow social studies courses for grades 6 through 8.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve curriculum revisions in standard level and Project Arrow social studies courses for grades 6 through 8 as presented.
Any discussion? Okay, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Demme, Ms. Donahue,
Aye.
Ms. Grover, Mr. Karubas,
Yes.
and Ms. Gentz.
Yes.
The motion passes. Now we will have a presentation from Ron Johnson and Matt Shipley regarding support operations update.
Evening, members of the Board of Education. As mentioned, I'm here with Ron Johnson, our Director of Support Operations, to give the board an update on our transportation and food service programs. It's been about 3 years since we've been in front of the board, so we're excited tonight to both provide maybe a refresh or a general overview of both those programs, as well as highlight some of the exciting initiatives and good work we're doing in both areas. Tonight's presentation hits on a variety of board policies related both to food service and transportation, as well as strategic plan priority number 4 to optimize resources and operations. So we're going to start by covering our food service program. We do have a spot to break in the middle if there's any questions specific to food service, or we can keep on going, the board's preference, and then we will cover our transportation program as well.
Thank you, Matt. So my name is Ron Johnson. I'm the Director of Support Operations. So they say I oversee Meals and Wheels, right? That's the joke that we always say. When we talk about food service, the big thing is we talk about fresh food, fresh choices served daily with care. We partner with Organic Life. We are a contracted service, so they are a food service management company. They're one of the largest food service management companies for K-12 in the country. They provide us with real chefs in our kitchens. So at the high schools and middle schools, these are chefs that are certified chefs, whether they worked in some other culinary background. What's nice is they can bring their experience and put those into our K-12 menus. One thing to note is every photo that you see, whether it's a food item, these are the real photos that are being served to our students throughout our schools. And if I haven't addressed this with the board before, or the community, our elementary schools are more of a catering operation. We have satellite sites that produce food and then bring that to our elementary schools. They are provided with 4 different options on a different day. There's always a meat entree and a non-meat entree, so it's like a vegetarian option. The middle schools have full commercial kitchens, and so do the high schools. Okay. What the Organic Life essentials are is they want to focus on delicious fresh food made from farm-fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes. They provide exceptional service from staff who care about our students, and we're going to talk about our staffing levels here on one of the upcoming slides. They want to provide innovative programming with customizable options with seasonal menus and fun promotions, whether it's a Valentine's Day cookie or a Halloween cookie. They also provide operational excellence through smart logistics, compliance, and efficiency. So when we talk about our food service staffing, I'll talk about our 2 directors. Our 2 directors, Jill and Bobby, they are homegrown with D204. Their students, one is currently in our buildings, ready to graduate, and Jill's students went through D204 school. So they understand the community, they understand the importance that they can provide to our students. We service 34 schools, 192 employees across those schools. What's really good is we provide adults with disabilities opportunities within our kitchens based on their skill sets. So we have 21 adults with disabilities working throughout our kitchens, and what's nice is 14 of them have went through a D204 school all the way through our STEPS program. That provides us an inclusive opportunity with our community as well. When we talk about just some high-level overview numbers, when we look at our low-income eligibility, we have about just over 19% eligible for free meals. We have just over 2.5% that are eligible for reduced price meals and almost 22% total, so receiving what they call free or reduced price meals. We serve breakfast at all of our schools. We'll look at some percentage increases over a series of years, but since 2016-2017, we've seen almost a 66% increase in our breakfast participation since Organic Life has taken over our contract, and we believe that is directly related to the type of food and the quality of food and the items that they're putting on their menu. We serve over 9,500 daily lunches, which is a 28.3% increase since 2016-2017, so 9,500, and on days where it's a more fan popular item, we see over 10,000 meals served that day, so when that increase goes up. So we're looking between 34 and 38% of our students receiving a lunch each day. Our operation is fully sustainable with no local supplemental funding, which means that our paid meals and the reimbursements that we get back from the USDA National School Lunch Program fully funds our program. Not only the contract rates that we pay Organic Life, but our lunchroom supervisor staffing, the equipment that we're purchasing to put in our kitchens, and any of the supplies that we need to operate our food service operation. That's important to note because it's fully self-sustainable, and we try to keep our meal prices, which Mr. Shipley will talk about here shortly, in line with some industry standards. Some current ongoing initiatives: we're purchasing new equipment, adding equipment to our operation to ensure freshness and quality of meals. We are replacing kitchens to run more efficiently, which will help John Robinson with his utility bills and save some money that way. We are providing local farm-to-school fresh fruits and vegetables, we'll talk about in an upcoming slide. We are receiving student feedback to put new monthly items based on what they would like to see, as well as we're evaluating after-school power snack pilot evaluation. Now, Organic Life and I talked about this briefly over the past couple years, but there was a senior class inquiry class when they came here to present, and one of our students actually had this as one of the projects that he wanted to see. So I got to talk with him for a good half hour, and we're going to evaluate it. We're going to take a look at, see where the funding can come from, the types of options that we can put into this, and this would be an option for an after-school athlete or somebody in student activities. If they wanted to receive a meal instead of something just from a vending machine, they'd be able to get, a chicken wrap or a salad or something a little bit more that provides a little bit more power or protein for the students when they're doing their after-school activities. So looking at the graph over the years, if you look at the orange, that is our enrollment since 2016, 2017 through our current enrollment this year, and our breakfast participation. You see a kind of a spike there during those COVID years where everything was free. So we were giving out breakfast for free, and we saw a large participation increase during that time. So we see that as an anomaly, and we look at the 2016 through the 2018-2019 school year, and then the past 3 to 4 school years of where we're at. And if you look at our number of breakfasts from the 2016, it's just over 800, and we're currently around 1,400 now, so that's that percentage increase I talked about on the previous slide, or we're serving about 5.4%. And if we look at our lunches, same type of growth. So as our enrollment is declining, we're actually serving more meals to students. So that percentage of students of higher served is going up. So that's important to how the items that are being put on our menus are supporting our students based on what they would like to eat. There are some things that we can't put a ribeye on the menu, right? There are some nutritional requirements that we have to put into play as part of National School Lunch Program, but we try to put items that are on the menu that they would like to eat for lunch. You know, this isn't a dinner, right? This isn't a sit-down meal. So we try to provide that experience for them. When we talk about just any type of violent critical incident, we wanted to make sure that our cafeteria workers are incorporated into our district's ALICE training. Just as a refresher, ALICE is just an option-based response strategy that gives people options on how to respond given a certain situation if there's a violent critical incident. So we wanted to make sure our cafeteria workers understood the logistics behind that and the challenges of a cafeteria space. There is constant movement in that space with students coming in and out, adults coming in and out. The noise levels to receive information is very difficult, as well as the opportunity to lock down or barricade the difficulties in an open space. Ron Wilkie and I provide that training to almost 200 food service workers right here at Still Middle School at the beginning of the school year. We call it the Ron Show. You know, he's the more serious one. I try to be the funny guy, and sometimes he tries to cross that and doesn't work out too well for him, but just kidding. But it's an opportunity to bring in our food service and cafeteria workers, whether they're our contracted employees or our lunchroom supervisors, into how we would respond to any type of incident in our buildings.
Just wanted to cover what is required to be in a full meal under the National School Lunch Program, and also tie that to some of the discussions we've had as part of some budget updates and some challenges or potential challenges we see with some uncertainty in federal funding. So just wanted to acknowledge we are part of the National School Lunch Program, and that's critical to our ability for this program to be self-sustaining, as Ron mentioned earlier. As part of that program, that does have some pretty significant requirements on what we can offer for lunch, and it really boils down to offering the 5 components listed here. So all meals that are offered include a meat or meat alternative, grain, fresh fruit, fresh vegetable, and then a white or chocolate milk option as well. $6.39 is our all-in cost to offer that full meal to students. But we charge about between $3.55 and $3.70 for fee-paying students. And then, as Ron mentioned earlier, we have about 22% of our population that's also receiving free and reduced lunch meals. So I think what's important to understand is to be able to offer this as a self-sustaining program, we are relying on that federal reimbursement, not just for our free and reduced lunch students, but also as a supplement or to close the gap for those fee-paying students as well. And so again, as we've talked over the past year or so about some of the discussions at the federal level about free and reduced lunch eligibility, about changes to various federal programs, just wanted to again highlight that it's not just about supporting our free and reduced lunch students as part of some of those changes, but it's about supporting the program as a whole. So we do continue to monitor the prices we're charging, the financial performance of the program. As Ron mentioned already, we are able to make it's a self-sustaining program. We are reinvesting the funds we receive into new equipment and new menu items and trying to innovate. But being part of the National School Lunch Program and having that federal support is a very critical component of that piece.
And another thing to note, based on what Mr. Shipley was just saying, is that our lunch prices, we have to charge a certain amount to our paid students. It's called paid lunch equity. And that there's a target rate of what we should be charging. We're about 15 to 20 cents below that target rate and still able to provide a little bit of a profit. As part of the National School Lunch Program, you're supposed to be as close to break even as you possibly can. And if you think of our operation being over a little over $9 million all in, and we're less than $50,000 every year on a P&L. So that is absolutely difficult to get to net zero, but that money must be reinvested directly into the food service program. We couldn't use it anywhere else. When we talk about, sometimes we get questions from our students, why does a slice of pizza, if I just wanted a slice of pepperoni pizza, cost the same or more than a full lunch? We go back to that number of $6.39. So we receive some federal supplemental funding to offset the cost of a full reimbursable meal. NSLP, the National School Lunch Program, wants our students to receive a full balanced meal, not individual items. So that one singular slice of pizza is competing with the full meal that we receive funding for, okay? Our contract with Organic Life is a per meal rate. And if we're gonna offer a la carte items, there's a whole nother mathematical equation on that. But the gist of it is that slice of pizza, which is the main entree as part of a meal, is the most expensive part of our $3.70. So if you think about that, a fruit or vegetable, you get those for $1 or $2, a milk for $1 or $2. The most expensive part of that meal is that main entree, so a slice of pizza. If you got that slice of pizza as part of a meal, you get all these other options available to us, plus we receive that federal funding, and that cost of that meal to us is $6.39, not necessarily the $3.70. So that individual piece of pizza will cost more because we are not allowed to supplement using the USDA funding for that. Okay, so just I get that question quite a bit from parents when they say my student got a piece of pizza and it cost $3.50. However, the entire lunch is $3.70. And I always say, take the entire lunch, whether he likes it or not, and donate, because we have food sharing bins at every school. Put the fruit or the vegetable in the food sharing bin for somebody else to eat, and just get your piece of pizza and a milk. So when we look at our menu items and receiving feedback from our students, we have what's called an online menu system through NutriSlice, and we put a bunch of nutritional value information, allergen information filters, but we focus on the health, nutrition, taste, student preference, and industry options available. What can we provide our students that meet the nutritional requirements that we must adhere to when we're putting food on students' plates? All of our items on our menu meet those meal pattern requirements for each student. And recently there's been changes with milk and grains and protein. All of our menu items will support those changes in legislation. That's what's good about Organic Life. They can pivot and turn on a dime and provide high quality meals with making sure that we're in compliance with those laws. How we receive student feedback, some of it is face-to-face, some of it's an email, but a lot of it comes through the menu itself. There's a platform where they can go on and rate the food or provide comments. We will review those comments with Organic Life and make adjustments. So if hot dogs are a popular item, we review the popular item, and do we need to menu that more? It's, let's say, an elementary building. So we are constantly looking at what is popular when we offer that as a single item, and should we offer it as a daily item? Continuously monitoring. But sometimes we have students that have some type of, they have a diet that, whether it's a lifestyle choice or whether it's a medical, in personal preferences, and we try to support that diet with the vast, and we're going to go through some of the slides, with the vast majority of our menu items to support as much as we can for for all of our students. So here's just some photos of the food that we're serving. One of the newer items that came into play was the fresh Belgian waffles. That first slide, that was one of our Organic Life. They are making fresh Belgian waffles every Wednesday. They started doing it on Thursday, and I said, you got to change the waffle Wednesday, because that makes sense, right? So now it's on Wednesdays. So they do that on Wednesdays, and you get fresh blueberry toppings. You can get fresh strawberry, banana, whipped cream. All this meets the National School Lunch. So this is helping grow our participation for breakfast, right? A lot of these are vegetarian compliant with students that won't eat meat or can't eat meat as part of their diet. But what's nice about this is, as I stated, this was taken off the serving line, put on a white plate just so that we can get a good picture, and this is exactly what the students are eating. Pepperoni pizza, they are rolling the dough, they are putting the sauce, putting the cheese, putting the toppings, putting it in a legit pizza oven and pulling it out, slicing it, and serving it to students. This is nothing that is pre-made, nothing that's processed or highly processed and going into our students' plates. And a lot of this has come from our students themselves. They have asked for some of these items to be menued. So plant-based burgers available every day at our middle and high schools, and we will menu that also on cheeseburger or burger day at the elementaries. We also put the plant-based burger as well at the elementaries on those days, so they have options. One of the more popular items was that Chicago-style hot dog with onion rings. It was pretty good, Matt. That's when we went to Mattia, you remember? And it was very good, yeah. I was at Gregory when they did the bacon cheeseburger, and that bacon came from a local farm, which we'll talk about how we receive our items and some of the funding from USDA on local farm to school. But it was amazing. I mean, there's not too much that we can't put on our menus or provide our students in our kitchens. They're full commercial kitchens. And like I said, some of the chefs that we have at our kitchens have worked at restaurants or in a culinary industry. So some of our daily meatless options, we will menu these various times throughout the month on our menus, or at the high schools or middle schools, they're provided daily. So when students say they don't know what to eat, I say I know, because there's a lot of options. When we talk about our local farm to school, so local is defined by 400 miles, and that's, local, right? That's a few hours of driving. So we could pretty much get apples from Michigan, we can get pears from Michigan, we get stuff from Wisconsin, some cheese from Wisconsin, whether it's cheddar or mozzarella. We're getting stuff from Iowa, we're getting stuff from Indiana. Pretty much within the Great Lakes region, we can pull from those farms. We received $318,000 to use directly towards the purchase of local farm to school. We focused on fruits and vegetables, apples, cucumbers, peppers, yogurts, green beans, lettuce, onion, squash, cheese, many seasonal items, whether it's the fall, whether it's the spring, and what items are available to us. Something excited that I'm not sure if you were aware of or have seen before, but as part of the Waubonsie Valley project, we have taken over the district itself, and I've been heavily involved in this schematic design and designing a kitchen, the back-end kitchen and the servery in the space that the architects had dedicated to us. So we worked with Organic Life, and we worked with a company, an equipment manufacturer called Belter, to design a kitchen that is very efficient. The flow in the back end provides minimal overlap, and utilizing the same equipment, the equipment list that we currently have in some of our other high schools. So standardizing our equipment list so that John Robinson's maintenance folks can come in and know exactly what they're working on, not having multiple pieces of equipment. It's more efficient that way. The front of house, we want our staffing to maintain certain stations. So we have a stir-fry station, a deli station, a pizza station, a burger station, multiple stations. And one of the things that we are adding to this is a full-service coffee bar. So what's going to be nice is it's going to be cold brew and drip coffee, and the students are going to be, staff's going to be able to go there, and you're going to see a full-service coffee bar with danishes, not almost like a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. This is something that we're adding because the space allowed for it, and we'll show some renderings of that space too. We were asked to also design the concession stand for the school as well, so we added that into our. So this is what we started with, putting this all on pencil and paper at first, adding the equipment, and then coming up with some of the 3D renderings that we're going to see on the next few pages. This took up a lot of my summer and spring. This was fun. Dr. Talley walked in and saw maps all over and schematic designs all over my office as we were trying to get the fit right. So we did some Revit files so we can actually see what the 3D will look like, the view. Do our staff have enough space to operate? Does the students have enough space to come in and out? Here's that coffee bar that I talked about. That's going to be a standalone off to the side. We're going to have some a la carte items there. Where, like I said, it's going to be cold brew and hot drip. And now, this is where the students, when we presented this to some of the students at Waubonsie, is we can't have everything that's high in sugar. We still can't provide that. It has to be Smart Snack compliant. So there'll be sauces and things that we can add to it, but we won't be adding anything that's high in sugar. This is a look at the concession stand. So it's going to be, it's going to have its drink coolers. It's going to have its warmers so they can serve pizza out of it. It's going to have their popcorn machine, nacho machine, chili, and a hot dog roller if they're going to serve hot dogs. And then on the back side of that, it's a full service prep kitchen. So they're going to be able to have a 3-compartmental sink, some refrigeration, and dishwash stations. So this is, after we worked all that, we provided that to White, our architects, and they were able to put that in the design concept that they settled on Wabanzi, and this is exactly what the kitchen should look like once we install, and in the servery. So on the right side over here in the top right picture, that's where the coffee bar, and that's what it should look like. This is the dining and what it would look like looking from the dining, and this is what the students will see in this lower left, as well as the upper left. So you can stay in the loop. We post most of those photos and new menu items and promotional things that we're doing on a daily or weekly basis, or a seasonal basis. This is our Instagram link. We encourage you to follow us and see exactly what, and this is where you can provide feedback too. We do have somebody monitoring that. You may not get a response, but if you provide, we would like to see, cowboy quesadilla, that, they can look at that and put that on the menu.
So at this time, we could take a break for food service questions, or we could move forward with transportation. I'll leave that.
So I think what we'll do is we'll just open it up to everyone to ask their questions on food service. So does anyone have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll take the first one. On slide 7, you made the point, I just want to emphasize it, that a testament that the program is working is the increased use of it. So I've been on the board long enough that we used to hear a lot of complaints about what was being served or thrown away. And so sometimes the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, and to see that they're actually using it more, and not a lot of the complaints have risen to the board level, once again tells me that y'all are doing your jobs great, and it comes out in the students' use of the program. So you made the point, I'm reinforcing it, great job.
Thank you.
My other point is kind of dealing with the changes in the program over the time, and this is more of a comment than a question. But, we've recently had a change in the National School Lunch Program and a change to the food pyramid. But taking just a slice of it, the changes in the milk over the years. Because when I went to school, we had these little triangle milks that had like strawberry flavored, and that's not offered currently. But you can see over the decades, we went from whole milk only from, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then we switched to, 1%, and then skim milk, and then, no fat. And to see it come kind of full circle is interesting, where now we are adding whole milk back to the offering. So it's kind of a testament to just the changes in society and what is healthy and not healthy. So kind of to see it come back is an interesting observation that, what we consider healthy now might not be healthy, a decade from now. But to see the changes in just that one slice of the meals is interesting. So that's it.
I just had a couple of comments and then one question. Just like Board Member Karubas, nice, very nice on the seeing those percentages go up. I had that down as well. And I did have a question on the milk. So I know that we've gone to the whole milk. Do the nutritional standards provide just for whole milk, or the other milks taken off the plate as far as flavored milk?
So the new legislation that passed adds whole milk. So right now we have the 2%
Right.
White and chocolate, so that can stay on the menu. This gives us, to maintain compliance with National School Lunch Program, we can now add whole milk if we wanted to, where
Okay.
before you couldn't. So now that adds other options of milk choices. Every once in a while we do have strawberry, just not
Okay.
every day.
So the strawberry and chocolate can,
Just send
Yeah,
me
so
an
we-
email
so-
or something. Text me, I'll eat the strawberry.
So we every day there's chocolate and white milk available, 2% chocolate and white milk available right now. This allows us to add the whole milk option or even non-dairy, so oat, almond. Those are usually accommodated by medical accommodations. If there's some type of medical or an allergy, we can provide those. This allows us to be able to do that if we have a volume of requests and still maintain compliance with National School Lunch Program. When you talk about the food pyramid, there was a shift in the new pyramid from protein and grain. So it used to be very grain heavy. Now it's shifted to very protein heavy and moved the grain to the bottom. All of our menus have those specified requirements, the number of grams for grain and protein. So we're in compliance. It's just that, I guess that priority has shifted where it's now protein heavy versus grain heavy.
And then I did have a quick question. Slide 14, as you indicated that we received the additional funding. Is that a grant, and is that an annual? Have we received it one time? Do we have to reapply, or?
It's so it is expired at the end of January, so no longer available. We've used all of the funding for the last school year and this school year up until January 2026. So that has expired. The State Board of Education did request renewal and they received it, but they're shifting the allocated amounts to the school district to beef. So now you can buy beef through there as opposed to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
So we're evaluating if we need to do that or not. It wasn't a grant you had to apply for and receive approval. It was funding that the USDA made available. We qualified for certain amounts and we just kept requesting more. And we started off, I believe, it was $168,000, and we tried to double that as much as we could. Just keep adding those fresh fruits and vegetables because kids really liked them, especially in the stir-fry type items because we were adding fresh fruits and vegetables to that. Nothing's ever frozen with Organic Life. They don't just pull out like a can of frozen, peaches. It is fresh peaches that, if you looked in the back end, that chefs and they're slicing and cupping. Watermelon's another one, mango's another one. Nothing's frozen or out of a can, which is real nice for our students.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I have a question. What time is breakfast?
So depending on the level, breakfast at the high schools can go from 6:45 to the start of the school day. We're typically preparing at 6:30, 6:45 for the breakfast at the high schools. At the middle schools, this is where it gets a little, how many students are bused because they're getting there closer to that bell time. And depending on the school, we work with the administration on how to get students a breakfast, especially in the free and reduced population where that might be their breakfast for the day. And then so that would be between 7:45 and 8:05. And then at the elementaries, it's 9 o'clock to 9:15.
So that's good to know because there are a lot of clubs in the high school level or even middle school that are before school, so the kids can eat breakfast right
Waffle
before.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I mean, at the high school, the first time we did it, the line was out the door. They couldn't produce as fast. So it was like, whoa, we were not expecting that.
Yeah.
That was on a Thursday. I said, you go Wednesday, with some of the delayed starts, you may get. But they started the kitchens early on Wednesday now, and they're producing those. And we bought extra waffle machines, so now instead of one, there's a couple. But it's just to support that menu and the students and what they would like to eat.
So my other question, comment, because you were talking about how we have the 2 district managers and there are people who were D204 students who were employed, and then you were talking about the program where the student had mentioned after school snacks. So I was thinking, we have a culinary program in high school. Do we have a collaboration with Organic Life?
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
And can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the owner of Organic Life will sometimes come into our culinary classes and bring some of the chefs in and work. So what was it, last year, the year before at Mattia, right? When they was it Mattia?
The pizza man.
That's right. They brought in he's called the Pizza Professor, and they were on a pizza unit. And this was, I believe it was you and JR did the kitchen renovation for them, right? So we brought them in and they worked directly with those students, showing them how to roll a dough, how to apply sauce, how to put cheese. Were you there? Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, this is where the hot honey really came into play with our menus because students were like, this is amazing. So now we have hot honey on our menus, whether we put it on pizza or a chicken sandwich. What's that?
We were early in on the hot honey trend.
Yeah.
Yes, they've worked with us. I know. I think one of the things is we look to continue some of that pathways work. I think we'll be leaning into that even more because that has been a good partnership for our students.
And they'll come in and even on entrepreneur, so business classes, he'll come and talk about just starting with an idea to what it is right now. And he'll talk about how he grew the business from working out of a back end of a culinary kitchen in a small space and starting small and growing into one of the nation's largest food service provider for K-12. So it's good to get that insight with somebody who started small and is now grown organically, very, very big.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, I want to thank you guys too. I have to say, seeing the pictures of the food makes total sense now why my daughter gets breakfast every morning now. Something she started this year. I just had a couple questions. The after-school power snack pilot program, I'm so excited about that. I think we probably all are for our student athletes and performers. Where is it going to be at? Could you speak to that just a little bit more?
So because the student that pitched it was from Matia, we were going to start there. Sorry.
Okay.
We were going to start there and just come up with different options to find pricing points. What should we include in that? This student had some really good ideas. He actually had it very laid out. If this was our protein options, if this was our fruit option, if this was our drink option, I guess there's supplements you can add to just water that provide nutrition and energy that doesn't, race your heart. It's a builder. So we're looking into those types of things, and then, what would that cost look like, and what would students support, or what would families be able to support? And then outside of that, because it's not National School Lunch Program eligible for that, what would our free and reduced population do? Will we just say, hey, look, this is something that we would like to do as a district. We are running a little bit of a profit. Do we just scale back the equipment purchases and do this? Does IPEF stand in, or some of the booster clubs step in and provide some of that funding? Because it's not just for athletes, right? It could be for any performer or any student activity that just needs that extra boost after school, instead of getting something from the vending machine or bringing it from home or holding it in their backpack from lunch. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. So that's where we were thinking we would start.
Okay.
Hopefully coming in the spring, we would have some options and some ideas and just see how it goes. We wouldn't charge at first, but we would test the market, and then we would price test, see where that
Build
sensitivity
up to that
level-
possibly. Okay. And ultimately, if it was something that was continued, would it just be at the 3 high schools then?
That's where it would go. That's most
Okay.
of the larger teams, but it doesn't mean it couldn't go down to
Okay.
the middle schools. Middle schools have full commercial kitchens. We would figure out a way on how students would order, so that we just know, so we're just not over preparing food and leading to food waste. We would have them order one of the 4 option packs that we have available and find a way for them to pick it up, whether it's an after-school supervisor just, oh, you ordered this, here you go. However that would look. That's what we're still working on the logistics on, even though all the infrastructure is there for us to do it. It's just the actual logistics to preparing, ordering, and providing that.
Okay. No, I think that's very exciting. And I want to thank you for addressing a question I was going to be asking about where leftover items from full meals would go. So there's food sharing bins.
Yep.
Are they shared with other students throughout that day? And ultimately, if there's still stuff in there, where does that go?
So we run on a very tight production schedule because we don't want to lead to more food waste.
Right.
So the food sharing bin is one of those. So most kids will eat the main entree, the hot dog, the pizza, the taco, the quesadilla, whatever it may. They're going to eat that. They just don't want to eat the fruit or vegetable.
Right.
So when we get to a point, because you have to take a fruit or vegetable in order to be a reimbursable compliant meal. So what we started to do years ago was a sharing bin. We then decided, hey, that's still not working. Kids are just taking it, throwing it away, leading to food waste. Touching base on that, most of our food waste is not from the kitchen itself. It's from students bringing food from home and then just throw it away. So that's one thing to note. So we work on a very tight production level. It's a science. We are constantly reviewing that weekly with Organic Life. They're reviewing it because they don't want to have high food costs where they're not getting the revenue from it either, right? We worked with the USDA 2 years ago to change some of the regulations. So if a student comes up and says, I don't want a fruit or vegetable, we say, here's a packaged bag of carrots. Put it in the food sharing bin. We are safe food certified. We can reintroduce that after if nobody takes it and resell it again. So now it's even eliminating that piece of the, like, if there was 2 apples left, we can make sure it meets all the food safety standards and then reintroduce that into inventory, reducing our food costs without food waste.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that is wonderful. All right, no, thank you. And if you do need parent volunteers to test out the coffee bar when
Yes.
it is up and running,
I-
I will selflessly say you could ask me.
I see the sacrifice that you're putting yourself in. I mean, I quality control food every single day. It's probably why I put on 20 pounds since I've started working here. But I know the sacrifice that you're putting yourself in.
Thank you. No, thank you both.
Yeah.
2 quick comments and a question. First of all, thank you for incorporating 21 adults with disabilities in our staff. I think that's wonderful that we're doing, and majority of those that have been 204 students at one time. Amazing work on the Wabanzi project. I mean, it looks phenomenal, and they rightfully deserve it for what they've been accustomed to there. And then my only last question is, I'm willing to pay the real cost of the meal, but I'd love to have lunch at all 3 of the high schools between now and the end of the year. So
Send me
I'm
an
happy
email.
to pay the real cost.
Line it up. Yeah, no, line it up.
I've already
Dr. Talley pays full meal price.
I've already picked out my items, yeah.
You getting the Bosco stick?
He asks
Strawberry
for
milk.
extra sauce.
Tell them when it's Strawberry Milk Day.
All right,
All
you
right.
ready to move on to
Well,
transportation?
I'll have
Oh,
a
sorry.
couple- so many of the things I wrote down have been covered by other comments, but I did want to say thank you also for the Alice training, and I know you're going to cover that with the transportation people too. I don't think that that's something people think a lot about, but it's like a huge area in our schools, and I'm really happy to hear that our staff all got the opportunity to go through that, or the food staff. Also, thank you for the pricing explanation, because you're right, that's a question that comes up all the time, and it really is confusing to people about why they could have to buy a piece of pizza that might cost more than the meal or whatever. So thank you for repeating and telling that story again. And I was at the presentation by those students the other day, and I talked to that student that had the proposal for the after-school program to support athletes and performers and things. I am absolutely thrilled that you picked up on that, and I bet he's thrilled too. Is he participating in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because he really gave a great pitch when I talked to him, and it was obvious, like a passion topic for him, and really something that's unique that we really should look at. And I'm just thrilled to hear that that project and that independent study program really, went further than just his
project.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, him and I actually made a good connection. He plays soccer. My son plays soccer. They play in the same club. He's obviously a lot older than my son, but it was just a nice connection to kind of build where he's coming from with how this idea became important to him. It was nice to see that and hear
Yeah,
that.
I mean, all the projects I spoke to were impressive, and really something that they all were passionate about pursuing or whatever. And it's just really nice to see one of them actually like immediately turn into, wow, we're going to look into that. So, yeah. So thank you. All right, we'll move on to transportation.
All right. Meet you. Okay, so now we're on to transportation, so the other part of my job. We're going to just look at some basic overview stats, what the budget looks like. Mr. Shipley will cover that. We're going to look at some safety and reliability innovations and initiatives that we currently have. We'll give an update on our district serious safety hazard evaluations, and then we're going to talk about some wheelchair accessible activity buses for the high schools. Just a reminder, refresher, who is eligible for transportation service in Indian Prairie School District? This is driven by state law for funding and as well as board policy. So The easiest one is if you live more than 1.5 miles away from the school that you attend, you'll receive transportation. The second one is if you live under 1.5 miles from the school that you attend and there's a serious safety hazard evaluation and approved by the Illinois Department of Transportation. This has very strict standards and criteria for us to be able to say that a serious safety hazard. This isn't just us feeling that there's a hazard. There's very strict criteria and an evaluation gets determined based on the measurements and data that we collect. There's the third one. This one's fairly new within the past 6-7 years. 6-7. About the, I don't know why I said it, but yeah, came to my head. A pattern of criminal activity. Resident student with special needs receiving transportation as a related service defined by student's IEP or a 504. And then non-resident students that are eligible for McKinney-Vento services. So our partners, we have two main partners, one of them being First Student. First Student is one of the leading transportation service providers in the nation. We have 3 in-district, in our district boundary dispatch locations. We have a lot of our main arterial roads, but they are very congested, so spreading out our fleet and able to service our students and our routes really makes us real efficient. We have a newer vehicle fleet, which we'll talk about. We are a fully staffed operation for the first time in a while, whether it's the office staff, bus drivers, or bus aides. They have a strong focus on safety. They have a strong care for student experience while they're being transported. They do foster teamwork and partnerships, very technologically driven, and then they have an industry-leading vehicle maintenance program. The second provider that we utilize, more on an alternative basis with minivans, Richley Vans. They are a small family-owned business, but they are the largest in Illinois. They safely provide for the welfare of the students they transport. Vast industry knowledge. The owner of the company is typically on panels for state and federal student transportation initiatives. They provide a high level of professionalism, comprehensive fleet maintenance program, and they're committed to delivering safe and reliable student transportation service. So speaking to Alice for bus staff now. So Ron and I, again with the Ron Show, traveled to Mattia and provided Alice training for our bus staff. So each environment has its own set of strategies and option-based responses based on the environment area. So we talked about the cafeteria, now we were talking about a moving classroom, a bus, right? We talked about what's the best course of action when you have passengers on the vehicle. Useful tips for implementing ALICE protocols on a school bus. If there's a violent intruder that is on the bus and the bus is moving, what you can do, what to do if a violent intruder is trying to board a bus, and what to do if an violent intruder is attempting to stop the bus. So we talked about some of the option-based strategies that our drivers can utilize. The good thing is some of these strategies they were already aware of because First Student partners with the TSA on how to incorporate some of the safety initiatives on buses during transportation if there's a violent critical incident. So we just incorporate our ALICE responses so that everybody's on the same page using same terminology. Some fast facts. Is this your slide?
No.
So, okay. Some fast facts. We about 237 drivers with First Student, 16,750 students transported. Rich Lee does about 22 to 30 drivers. This is more of our McKinney-Vento population, and that is a very transient population, so it can be 22 one day and 32 weeks later. I mean, that's how fast it changes. Just looking at our on-time network. So if we look at our on-time network from last year, 93.9%. Very good. We have a goal of 95%. If you just add 5 minutes, this is how important 5 minutes is to our network, 97.6%. So giving them a threshold of 5 more minutes has that much of an impact on the operation. We are currently looking at 96.1%, and again, giving us 5 extra minutes gives us 98.4. So if you think about that, that's pretty high rating. And right now we're exceeding our goal. And we'll touch base on a graph here in a little bit to talk a little bit about that. Our annual budget this year is almost $31 million, and we have a funding split between state funding and local property taxes.
And I just want to spend a minute or two talking about that funding split after talking about our food service operation, which is self-sustaining. Unfortunately, we have a little different story when we look at our transportation expense over the past several years. So traditionally in Illinois, the funding for transportation is supposed to be shared between the local school district and the state. And the graph here, which starts kind of with some pre-COVID numbers and then moves into current year, shows that back in 2018, that was about a 50-50 split. So our total transportation expense was about $20 million, and the state picked up a little bit more than half that. So then we had about a $10 million amount that was being covered by our local taxpayers. Again, a little bit of kind of one-off during the COVID years, where the state actually picked up a little bit more, up to 65% in fiscal year 2021. But since then, that state percentage that's being covered has gone down. That's basically the state's contribution staying flat as the expenses go up. And so now when we get to fiscal year 2025 and 2026, local funds are covering close to $18 to $20 million of that transportation expense. And so what we've seen is that our transportation expense has increased about 10% a year for the last 4 years, but the percent that's covered by local funds is increased to about 20%. So what's really happened here, and this has been sort of a statewide and nationwide phenomenon, is that as transportation has had to deal with driver shortages, minimum wage increases, the rising fuel expenses, the gasoline expenses over the past several years, even just the cost of building a bus has increased significantly over the years. Those costs have gotten passed on to local districts. It's also why, as an organization or operation, we've prioritized efficiency and routing and technology integration that Ron will cover later. So really, we feel like we're doing everything we can to manage these expenses, and they could actually be a little even higher if we weren't doing some of those initiatives. One of the things, just as we look towards the budget and we start talking about what the state budget could look like this year, this really has become a talking point for the first time, really that I can remember, about this categorical proration. And actually, as we've started to bring it up with legislators, I've been surprised that a lot of legislators aren't even aware of this challenge. I think I was at a LEN meeting in September with a couple board members even, where we had that discussion. There's been so much focus on the state level with evidence-based funding and prioritizing that EBF funding since 2017 that I think this has kind of been left behind a little bit. And I think both our district, but really districts throughout DuPage County, throughout the collar counties, throughout the state are really bringing this forward as an issue. And I think it'll be interesting to see as we start looking at the state budget this spring, starting with the budget address in February, if some of our feedback's starting to be heard in how state money is being allocated. We're hopeful that some of this trend is starting to ease a little bit. The board has already approved our contract for next year, which included just a 5% increase. So again, still above what the consumer price index is, but starting to slow down some of those near 10% increases. Next, just wanted to show that we do analyze our operation and benchmark it against other districts. And if you could see, here's 12 other unit districts, our comparable districts and other districts in the area. We are operating about in the middle of that band, but you'll see kind of a wide range in transportation expense for pupil. One of the main challenges in sort of doing this analysis is comparing in-house districts. So districts that are operating at the transportation in-house, as opposed to contracting with a third-party provider as we do. So we do have the averages here, where you can see in general contracting is a little bit more efficient or lower cost per pupil at a district level. But I'd also point out, that doesn't tell the full story either. There are districts that operate partially in-house and contract out partially. It's hard to know, looking at annual financial reports, what some districts are including in those numbers. I'll also point out there could be pretty significant year-to-year fluctuations between districts based on the timing of capital purchases or bus purchases, things like that. There's one district I know specifically on here that runs in-house and is one of our neighbors. They're showing a little lower than us here over the past year, but they've recently announced they're investing $15 million in a new bus facility center. So once those numbers start getting picked up, I think you'll see the numbers maybe trend a little differently, and maybe we'll be a little bit below that district. So overall, just wanted to point out we are monitoring this. We do continue to evaluate not just our providers, but also what the potential opportunities to bring a portion of the operation in-house. And at this time, we still feel that we're operating in the most cost-effective ways possible, while also ensuring we have reliable transportation. Again, a thing we look at is we know when we get on days like today where there's concern about the temperature outside or potential snow, transportation becomes a key linchpin to that decision to whether we can open school or not as well. So, we're also monitoring that reliability and that on-time performance in addition to how we're performing on budget.
One of the kind of bow on the package that we look at is a key performance indicator of bus on-time performance. So everything we do kind of goes to this number, right? So this is a historical of the past 3 years. If I gave you the 3 years previous to these three, the graph would be, it looked like a spider web, okay? We continuously get better every year, which is a good thing. Look at our startup compared to this year versus even just the last 2 years. August and September are always they've historically been, we've been running 30 to 40 to 50 drivers short. Roadways go down, whether it's a construction project, driver familiarity with the routes as they change. By mid-September, end of September, drivers start getting familiar, and that's where we start to see the climb in our on-time network. Last year was the first time that we finished close to our goal. This year we plan on beating our goal. So if you look at just the 93.75% that we started off in August and then jumping up above our goal in September and then maintaining that throughout so far, that's exactly what we want to see. If you think of transportation, it is a huge jigsaw puzzle that has many moving pieces, and sometimes those pieces change without us knowing. So I bet many of you didn't know how many times you used Book Road until you couldn't, all right? And that's going to be gone for a little while. And then we're about to find out how critical North Aurora Road is as we get to Mattia when they take that overpass. And we saw that as they were taking Liberty, New York, different types of railroad crossings, Montgomery, down by Normantown. These are all key infrastructure that we utilize in the roadways that we now have to reroute around and be able to adjust on the fly. Sometimes it's planned and we know about it, and sometimes we drive into it and we're like, we have to adjust, and it does affect that number short term while we adjust. The good thing is we've been able to build good partnerships with the road districts and the City of Aurora, City of Naperville, their engineering group, so that they are being preemptive in the communication so that we can adjust our routing earlier, which is why you see some of those numbers better this year than they have in the past. There we go. All right, let's talk about some safety and innovation and how our district has been recognized over the past few years. First Student was recognized as the National Transportation Location of the Year. They received that award. This is an award that is given to the location providing superior service, reliability, and safety to their clients. Not only that, as a separate award, which is usually given to two different locations, our location manager, Ms. Linda Andrus, was awarded the Regional Location Manager of the Year. That is given to managers of a location that have exemplary leadership and professionalism to the location staff, drivers, and the clients they serve. Both of these awards are recognized nationally within the First Student environment, and they show a true operational partnership that we have with First Student that provides safe and reliable transportation for D204 students. So that is something definitely that we recognize and spotlight. Internally, we have been recognized on a national level for being a tech super user, being innovative, and our incident response planning. We have been awarded a Tyler Technologies Excellent Award for performance, innovation, equity and access, and connecting our community and operational efficiency. And then just last year, we were spotlighted on a Fox 32 news station when we added stop arm cameras to our school buses to ensure that students are safe as they're loading and unloading our school buses. And we'll talk a little bit about these and how this kind of encompasses all of our innovative work for transportation safety and reliability. As many of you know, we've put tablets on all of our buses. We have been the first in our area. We've been doing this for 7 years. Well, many districts are still catching up and just putting them on now. So it's good that we've been able to work through that. We are constantly being called, asking for tips and troubleshooting ideas. The good thing about these tablets is it provides turn-by-turn navigation, and it automatically reroute based on road closures or road congestion due to accidents or whatnot. It maintains our route integrity, which is important, especially on our special ed routes for students that become familiar with routine and how a bus travels instead of turning left or right. Whether a student is absent that day, we can maintain that route integrity so it doesn't escalate any types of students. We can send messages directly from our dispatch center to a driver. Let's say instead of calling it over the radio because radio traffic is real heavy, we can just send a message, we need you to cover route 2, the first 3 stops. They can add those on the fly to the tablet, and it reroutes them and maintains route efficiency and integrity. We don't have to worry about if we have a driver covering a route, holding a route sheet while they're trying to drive a 40-foot vehicle with some students on it, right? They can just type it into a tablet and listen to the navigation and go on their way. The good thing is this also has some student information, so if a student is coming on the bus and they're supposed to have 7 students at the bus stop and now there's 8, they can question that. Who are you? Why are you here? They can look it up. They're trained now to call into dispatch asking for that student information instead of just letting a student that they don't recognize or are aware of coming on the bus. We don't know what the intent is, or are they just a brand new student who was told to come to the bus? But we can figure that out utilizing this tablet. And this is our built-in GPS for the AVL, or automatic vehicle location, and this data is what's transferred to MyStop and how we connect, and we'll talk about that here on another slide, connect our community. We upgraded the camera system last year, so now we can produce video that has low resolution and high resolution in the event of the type of incident that we're investigating. All of our student transportation vehicles have a video management system on them that record audio and video, and it's a continuous hitting a server, not our server specific. Gives us clear views in some hard to see areas. What's nice about this is each one of these cameras now have its own dedicated microphone. So let's say an incident happens in the back of a bus, we can pull that audio instead and see what was said or what wasn't said. So it helps us with the investigation and reviewing. And we can actually download this a little bit faster than pulling a hard drive, bringing it into the dispatch center, processing it through encrypted software. We can do this remotely now, which is, it's been helpful in getting our principals and our administrative team bus video to review faster and more timely for an incident. Another good thing about this is that there's an event button. So let's say there's an argument or a fight on the bus, the driver can just hit a button and it will automatically download the video, and then when we get the request from the principal, it's already available, so we can share it with them. As I stated, we put an exterior view, a stop arm camera, which allows the driver to hit that event button in the event of a stop arm violation and then call it into dispatch, and then our road supervisors can download that and then share it with local law enforcement. This is a view of one of our students unloading a bus while a vehicle is blowing past it. What our community and what we like to drill into our community is a stop arm on a bus is no different than a red light or a stop sign that you would have to stop and go at. The difference is this has students walking, unloading, so you got to be a little bit more careful as you go through this. That's outside of the penalties and violations that come with it. We are talking student safety and providing them an environment that they should feel safe when they're getting on and off the bus. We do have information specific to stop arm violations on our transportation section of our website that talks about what a stop arm violation is, how to navigate them, how to report them, because if a community member reports them, we have a form that they can send to us. We'll pull the video and share that with the local law enforcement, which we have done multiple times. We have what's also called live view. So we can, if let's say there's a student having a medical emergency on the bus, we can live view and real-time monitor and provide support to law enforcement, emergency management, the bus driver, while seeing exactly what's happening. So the bus driver can tend to the student till the paramedics arrive. This provides accurate and timely event response, in-the-moment support, and remote visual oversight as needed. So we usually have one of our safety location managers in the event of an accident or a medical emergency. They will pull this up immediately and start monitoring to make sure that they have the appropriate support for the drivers. GPS and MyStop. So we talked about our connected community and inclusiveness into our operations. So we have a lot of technology that supports the school district and the administrators. This also supports our parents and our students, so they can see if a bus is running a few minutes late, they will get notifications. We can communicate to parents through this app. If we are aware of a bus running late or a reroute, it's free to use, so there's no fee for it, and it provides very timely information on location of the bus and an ETA to the student stop. So let's talk about our fleet age. We pretty much have 280 first student vehicles that are sitting in the 3 dispatch centers. The average age of the fleet is 6 years old. We have 125 that are 3 to 4 years old, which is providing that newer bus fleet with all the current safety enhancements that are on school buses, which helps with lower operating and maintenance costs, which is why we can negotiate that 5% and hopefully a lower one coming in the next school year. Fewer breakdowns, more reliability for our students, and it's fewer emissions. So talking about serious safety hazards now. So how is this defined? So this is going to kind of encompass some of the work that we've been doing over the past several years, since about 2018. Sometimes we get questioned, is this a budgetary response? Are we looking at serious safety hazards to reduce our costs? And the answer is always no. We are looking to get to where we should be at transporting our students, who's eligible for transportation. That's why we started with that slide on the 5 criteria that makes a student eligible for transportation services. So we're working to get back to that basis so we can provide transportation service to students who are eligible for it. So what is a serious safety hazard? It's a situation that results from a combination of factors. And how do you determine the existence of a serious safety hazard? You have to go out and look. None of this is done in an office, on a computer. You have to go out and evaluate the measurements. You have to take measurements. You have to see the conditions in person, and that's all cataloged. And I try to do my best to catalog that on a map, so when we're communicating with the community, whether they are going to continue transportation service or have it eliminated, they can see exactly what was cataloged and ask questions based on that. All the criteria that we must adhere to is required of us by law. We can't just make up our own set of circumstances or criteria that we can use to determine whether it's a serious safety hazard exists or not. It's a point value system. So do the point values add up to create a serious safety hazard, or do they not, which makes it not eligible for a serious safety hazard? If there's 12 hazard points for a single hazard or 20 hazard points for a combination hazard, that's what will qualify for a serious safety hazard. There are certain factors that are present in most, such as speed and volume of traffic and how the students are exposed to that. The age of the pupil is considered, so how old is the student? So older age reflects a more both mental and physical maturity and the ability to deal with different hazardous situations. This is where the majority of the points go to. It's for the age of the student. There are some factors that are present in all 4 types of hazards. We're going to talk about those 4 types of hazards here in a second, but not necessarily apply. So like if the presence of a traffic signal is considered for crossing a roadway or railroads, it may not be for walking along a roadway or on a roadway. We don't have any of these, but there is what I touched based on as part of the 5 eligibility requirements, is that there's a serious safety hazard for a course or pattern or equivalent activity. That is nothing that we determine exists. We work with the local law enforcement and the Illinois State Police. We request them to determine if one exists, and there's certain criteria that must be met for that. We just provide them information and the request itself, and then once we get back their determination, we would submit that to ISB for approval. That doesn't go to IDOT. So let's talk about the 4 types of serious safety hazards. One is walking along a roadway, so that means there is no path for a student to walk on or a walkway, whether it's gravel or concrete or paved, asphalt. If it's more than 10 feet wide from the edge of the roadway to the start of the path that a student can walk on, there's enough gap from the roadway you can't even evaluate it. And then if there's a curb or a ditch, they want you to, if it's more than 8 feet, then you can't evaluate. So we're looking at shoulders or easements that are less than 8 feet if there's a curb, or less than 10 feet if there's a shoulder, and then the section must be 0.2 miles or further. So let's look at walking on a roadway. So I get this question a lot when I'm looking at it. So walking on a roadway, simply, the easiest form of it is there is nothing but grass for a student to walk on. They got to walk on the pavement in the same area that vehicles are traveling. The other one is the example on the right. There's a gravel path that is maintained. That can create, that can be a walking path if it's 2 feet or wider. If it's less than 2 feet, it classifies as walking on a roadway. But if it's 2 feet or more, we would evaluate that as walking along a roadway, so a type 1 hazard. I think you see something like this on Eola Road down by Mattia. So technically, that is a walk path that we can evaluate. Crossing a roadway, exactly that. We cross streets. You have to evaluate it where students have access to cross the street. So on the picture on the right, they would have to walk through grass or the easement in order to cross the street. That would not be allowed for us to evaluate. That would just, you couldn't cross there. You'd have to evaluate it somewhere else. The other types are crossing railroad tracks. We don't have any of these hazards. Most of our boundary, especially the boundary changes, kind of took any crossing of railroad crossings away, or they're more than 1.5 miles, so they met that criteria of eligibility. Combination hazards, so we look at one of those 4 that we just reviewed, and if a student's, let's say, crossing a roadway or crossing multiple roadways, we would look at both those intersections. If the combination is 20 points or more, it would classify as a serious safety hazard and looking for approval from IDOT. And the last one is in temporary conditions, so like areas of housing development, or let's say the Book Road section of roadway elicits new hazards that students would not be able to walk to school or walk to, let's say Neuqua. We would evaluate that on a temporary basis, that they would continue to receive transportation until that project is completed. So looking at the criteria, we're looking at the age of the pupils of the student. So there's 2 categories. There's a kindergartner through 8th grade, and then there's high school, 9 through 12. We're looking at the type of traffic control devices that's providing pedestrian protection, which is an all-way stop sign, adult crossing guards, traffic signals, 2-way stop control, so 2-way stop sign. Crossing protection, whether it's just a crosswalks only, active protection, or just there's nothing. We look at the curb and the curb height, length of the hazardous section, roadway, shoulder, speed of traffic, volume of traffic, walkway, and width of the roadway. And as I previously said, all this is done in the field, taking real measurements and then mapping it out on a map. So we look at our current evaluations. We have 30 evaluations that we've already completed and verified that a hazard boundary that was in existence currently existed, and we have verified those. They continue. We need to review 3 more of those that we have documentation and approval IDOT to see if those conditions are still in place when they were originally approved. We have 23 more that we need to complete and do a full evaluation, which this means is that students are receiving transportation on a serious safety hazard criteria, but we have no approval documentation on file. So somebody put a hazard boundary in place, whether it was due to housing developments, and nobody went back and actually submitted the documents. So now we're cleaning that piece up. And then we've completed 12 of those. So this is the work that we've been doing over the past several years, trying to get back in full compliance for the Illinois IDOT serious safety hazard eligibility. The good thing is ISB is aware of this and is supportive of us not just pulling the transportation, but continuously working towards the evaluation. Unfortunately, it's me, and as the length of this presentation shows, there's a lot for me to do every day, so I typically will chip away at this over several months and do bits and pieces until I can get dedicated time. So when we look at what we have completed, the 42 that we completed, here's the schools and the years that we have completed it and notified families of any type of eligibility changes. And then what's remaining, so currently I'm looking at the Clow and Gregory, so I'm hoping I can speed this up as taking measurements on larger scale. So we started with high school, so some of those measurements would still be applicable in the Gregory area, let's say. I can use those same exact measurements. I don't need to go out and double measure. And the same thing, I'm doing Gregory and Clow because we're within the same neighborhood and that boundaries with the same. So the measurements I'm taking for one, I can use for the other. Many of those streets are traveled the same way. Going to try to finish up the middle schools next year, and then we're going to focus on the remaining elementary boundaries that we don't have documentation for, and hopefully finish it up by 28-29 as a tentative timeline based on any projects that get added, unless Matt and JR want to add some more kitchen designs to my plate, you know, that could speed up or slow down. Just kidding. What, no more kitchens? I thought we had one more. I'm excited about the other one. So we do partner with local DOTs and law enforcement jurisdiction, and here's that list. At any point in time, I can email, pick up the phone and call, set up meetings with them, and the good thing is over the previous few years, because they know we're doing this work, they will partner with us and help us. So if they have traffic data, they'll provide it. Sometimes if there's an area that, you know, a family may say, hey, this is an area of high accident exposure, we'll work with the police departments on, hey, how many accidents happened during the time a student would be exposed to it, and what type, and if there was, what type of accidents were those, so that we can determine if it was a distracted driving, was it a low impact rear end, what type of accident was it, and then we can make determination on if we're going to apply that to any type of judgment. So let's talk about 3 new vehicles to our fleet. We just received these coming over winter break. I got to come in and get these all prepped, and they're sitting on the side lot here, ready to go. These are activity buses. Each one of our high schools will receive these. They have a wheelchair lift on them with 2 wheelchair spots ready to go. This is going to help students that are in wheelchairs go out into the community for community-based instruction. And what's nice about these is that we worked with our special student services department in using the Illinois with Disability Education Act funding, so a grant that we receive on a federal level to pay for these. So, you know, no local funds were used to pay for these, so that's going to be a good thing. So right now we're going to be sending out some communication to our student services departments at the buildings on setting up training with our first student driver trainers on how to use these and how to operate them and how to properly secure students in wheelchairs. Whom to contact? So bus route questions and concerns. We always say, hey, look, there's one of me and there's many parents. So we want you to work through your school building and the administrative at the school office. So if you have concerns or feedback, we say contact your school office. Many of the questions that parents may have could probably be addressed immediately by the school secretary or school principal. One thing we don't want to happen, and we've done a lot of community education and campaigning on this, is please do not address concerns at the bus stop directly with students or directly with drivers. We implore you not to do that because it only leads to bad situations. Nobody is coming onto the bus to say thank you. They have a concern or they're escalated or not in a good mood, and they want to make sure people know that. At the bus stop is not the correct place to address that, and we want to reiterate that to the community. And like I said, My Stop, if you're worried about bus stop drivers arriving late, utilize the My Stop app. If for some reason it's not working, pick up the phone and call dispatch and ask where the bus is, and they'll be able to get to it. We did add a slide today because of some of the work that we've been doing since it's called the cold start process. So we didn't have school on Friday, but every 6 to 8 hours due to cold weather, we have a cold start crew that comes in, starts, runs, fuels buses. They've been doing that since Friday all the way through this morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Shipley got an opportunity to come and do that with us on Friday and see exactly what that looks like. So we took some pictures we wanted to share with you because these are the efforts that our cold start crew, many of them are drivers, many of them are shop mechanics and technicians, and our shop manager going out, making sure the buses can run so we can have school. The 2 pictures at the bottom were taken at 3:47-ish this morning. I think I texted Matt and Dr. Talley this morning of where, yeah, I think it was his alarm clock. I don't know, I'm just kidding. But those were taken this morning. They're running and ready to go, and I think I even said that we're ready at that time of day. And we run them, and then the drivers come in, and then the buses are warm, and then we hit the road and go run our stops. So on a day like today where it's a little bit more chilly, buses were warm and started, and we didn't have any operational issues getting them started this morning. So I just wanted to spotlight that because it's a critical component on days where weather's a little bit more inclement and not sunny. Okay. And we are at that point.
All right. Thank you. I think we'll go back to me calling on people. Ms. Gens, do you want to go first?
I just want to thank you again for this comprehensive presentation, and I think I hope a lot of people are watching this at home. I do not know if they are, or they will look later, but I want them to always keep in mind the fact that you are doing this all by yourself, the evaluation process. So as you know, as I know you hear from plenty of people wondering, why haven't you done this school yet? When are you going to get to this one? And so thank you so much for kind of laying that out. And thank you also for mentioning the accidents. As we know, there are some intersections very close to schools that have a lot of accidents. And so I think that leaves a lot of parents wondering, why then is that not considered a serious safety hazard or as high, So thank you for mentioning the timing as an issue too. So again, I appreciate all the work that you put into this. I love all of the, frankly, upgrades, updates that have been done to all of the buses. The ones that are a little bit older, which it sounds like we don't really have all that many, do they have all the same technology?
They do.
That's awesome. Honestly, all of that is great. And I did watch that Fox 32 feature. So I'm so grateful for that too, because I know in our neighborhood, and I'm sure in many others, there is always at least one person that will go right through that stop sign at a bus stop. So thank you. And Mark's going to ask you about my stop, so I'm not going to touch on that one at all, except to say I use it frequently, and it works very well. And on days like this, it is a godsend where, we can kind of send our daughter out at the very last minute, which she always tries to cut it really close anyway. But that helps me where I'm like, no, it's a minute away. You got to get out of the house. So thank you. That was honestly one of the best additions, was the My Stop app.
Yeah, it was a good project.
Yes. So thank you. That was it.
All right, Ms. Dumming?
I didn't have too many questions because I had shared them before, so I appreciate the additional slides that you put in answering the questions that I had. I did want to, I had forgotten to say earlier, and so I wanted to say with this one, with the transportation, the Alice training, to echo President Donahue, is just so critical and so important. So thank you for that in both places. Really, really appreciate. And, the work that you do, echoing Katie, it's a lot. And I know that sometimes it's those questions come, but that timeline of the evaluation, I think, is really, really critical to help us have that laid out, and hopefully can help the public understand where we are and what are the schools that are coming next. And again, the explanations regarding the timing of when those accidents happen is so, so important. So thank you for that, and thank you for the slide that showed the partnership with their partners in the community.
Thank you.
Mr. Rising?
So since Katie brought up, I was going to ask about My Stop, and I'm going back because I don't even recall how long we've had it in place now. But my question is it stable? Because I know there were a few years that it wasn't stable. You can never be sure with technology, right? I know things happen, but do we have it in a good place? I mean, has it been reliable?
We have a pretty strong server team and tech team here, and they've done strides of work to make sure that server's constantly running. There's more monitoring tools that there were 5-6 years ago on many of the servers. I have not had any issues with the servers themselves or the GPS data. Usually it's just a cloud issue with the data that's coming from the tablets, but then it usually flushes out and then we're back to square one. So nothing that has been like a system-wide concern for the past 3 to 4 years.
Okay. I got to imagine parents love it with the cold weather, or the kids love it with cold weather because they know exactly when their bus is getting there. The camera system, love that we put the stop bar cameras on there. So important because drivers around here are not impatient at all. The internal cameras within the bus themselves, I'm assuming before the driver starts their route, they go through a checklist? Are those cameras on there that they check the internal cameras, check the stop bar cameras? Is that something they can do, or is that?
So for specific reasons, the driver doesn't have access to the hard drive
Sure.
and that itself. There is monitoring tools within the system that the shop manages and gets alert of if a camera's not working, or a hard drive isn't working, or a network device isn't working that's connecting. It goes through, the cell towers to bring data back into the system. So that's what they see on the shop side, and they can repair it fairly quickly. There's not too many times that we go to request bus video, and it's just we can't get to it. It's not available. I mean, on the past probably 4 to 5 years, we probably had it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And it just had to do with the hard drive itself being malfunctioning that time of day.
Okay. And then slide 28, Matt questions, Mr. Shipley questions. Just to start out, I mean, and I think I had shared this with you personally, Matt, because I sit on the ISB Evidence-Based Funding Committee discussions with multiple people, from legislators to administrators to, I think I'm the only school board member there, but we have these discussions, and you are correct. The last meeting we had in December, the proration of these transportation funds that has happened significantly, because I think in one budget presentation you said this is the lowest that they've funded in like 15 years, I believe. The state take down that funding. I mean, it's impacting everybody, and even Representative Davis, who was on the call, was unaware of this and was asking questions about it. The other conversation that took place was the increase in transportation costs that every district is facing. Thank you to our team, to Ron, to Matt, for, I know we work with our bus contractors to try to limit the increases we have seen, and they've been nowhere near some of the increases some of the other districts have seen. My question on the proration, though, just looking at last year from this year. So last year they reimbursed us 47%. This year they reimbursed us 43%. If you take that 4% difference and apply that to $30 million, I mean, that's about a $1.2 million gap-ish. Is that just money we have to find in our budget? Because we can only levy so much locally. So, I mean, is that just money we're going to have to continuously find if the state continues to reduce this?
Yeah, so it is money that as we develop our property tax levy, we are capped with the total amount that we can levy across all funds. So it does mean we have started to allocate more of our property tax levy towards transportation, and as a result, less to the education fund. And I don't have those numbers up front, but that's definitely something we can quickly provide that would demonstrate that.
And one thing to note is about the fund balance that we've built up over several years, anticipating for this kind of dip in state funding. So we are dipping into the transportation fund balance itself. I remember when I was being hired, it was a topic of conversation in my interview, and how we can talk about that. And I said one of the biggest things that I'm going to be able to bring to the table is the efficiency piece. I'll be able to look at routing and see how many drivers we're utilizing. Could we, cut drivers and cost on the routing side of things, make it more efficient, and we've been able to do that. I remember that first August when first students said, hey, we're 50 drivers short. And then when I looked at just our routing, because I didn't get a chance to look over that first summer, and I was like, oh, I got this. And we cut 37 or 38 drivers just in just routing inefficiency. So we've been able to maintain that. Now, some of that low-hanging fruit is we've already exhausted it, right? So now you're seeing true operational expenses. But because of those savings that we had, from 2017, 2018, even a little bit before that, we do have some fund balance that we're able to utilize some cash in the bank.
Thanks.
Mr. Karubis.
Anytime you talk about safety, it's always you use the maxim, you only have to get it wrong once. And so I'm going to focus on the safety aspect of it. kudos, as been talked about prior, that it is running safely. And so we haven't had major problems. We've got a railroad running right through our district. 59 is very busy. 75th is very busy. We have some of the highest traffic accidents intersections in the suburbs. So we're doing something right with that, and it's so kudos to keeping it safe generally. One particular area I want to explore is kind of with the driver qualifications and the vehicle inspection and maintenance. So we have gotten newer vehicles. They should be, safer, but they still require maintenance and inspection. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so from a driver qualification, they have to meet certain standards, physical capabilities as well as mental. So they have to go through a series of training, a series of tests, physical tests, and so that's there's qualifications based on even if you can operate a vehicle. So there's that piece. Then the vehicle itself, so every 6 months it must go through a DOT safety lane, regardless of the age. So it could be 6 months old, or it could be 2 years old, or 10 years old. It must go through a DOT safety lane every 6 months, or if the mileage is higher. I can't remember the top. I believe it's like 6,000 miles. So if it's 6,000 miles and it's 4 months, you got to send it through the safety lane. So first student handles all that. They handle our white activity buses, and every 6 months they get an inspection, and anything that needs to be addressed gets addressed by the shop and passes inspection. So when you're talking about a safe vehicle, they're looking from braking systems to lighting to seating arrangements. They're looking at the entire vehicle to make sure it's roadworthy and safe for passengers. The drivers must go through also state tests, so passenger endorsement tests and school bus endorsement test in order to be able to drive a school bus. So they have to have a CDL to drive anything more than 15 passengers on a school bus. So they must have that CDL, very similar to what a over-the-road tractor-trailer driver would have. Then they have to get these other endorsements in order to drive a school bus. So when you talk about a safe driver, they've passed many state qualifications, plus the first student training course, which is a little bit added to that. So now you have behind-the-wheel training. You are with a field training driver for a few weeks, and then you start running a route or being a standby driver and picking up routes. So from a driver qualification and a vehicle safety standpoint, I mean, just looking at from the cold starts, they're still doing services and bringing vehicles in and changing oils and making sure tires are good and making sure there's steering linkages are all tight and nice to go. And then there's some legislative things that are on the horizon. We talked about them when I was sitting in the audience at another board member, I believe Ms. Deming was, about seatbelts. So seatbelts are going to be required on buses manufactured after 2031. So then seatbelts will be a new added safety feature here in the next few years.
Thanks. And then this is a more particular question. You mentioned it when you were talking about doing your evaluations, that you have this 30-year timeline on evaluations. And so that might impact whether somebody, might lose their service. And then we have Lake Michigan water coming down Book Road. Does that work the other way, where if somebody is not bused because of they could walk, but then the construction doesn't allow them to walk, but you're not getting to an evaluation, how is that handled with the busing opportunities for students? I know I'm asking you,
No, so the good thing about with that is we worked with the DuPage Water Commission and we worked with the City of Naperville's TED group when they told us this project was coming. So we started looking at the areas on Book Road and determining, hey, can you have temporary crosswalks at certain areas within the project that allow student access where there are no vehicles? So there's certain local traffic only areas that are going to be open and closed on Book Road. We're talking about some other projects on the horizon, the 87th Street Bridge right there. They're going to be working on that. Does that present any challenges at that intersection? So we're working with the TED group and the DuPage Water Commission on just identifying if that does. When we do the evaluation, it's a point in time. So it's the number of vehicles, it's the type of sidewalks, it's the traffic control devices. At any point in time, those conditions can change. So we always leave it. I mean, I pride myself on being as responsive as I possibly can to community members that have questions about this. If at any point in time they say, hey, look, you took transportation away, we are now seeing 1,000 more vehicles, can you do another traffic evaluation and see if vehicle counts would change the outcome? And we always say absolutely. We have the equipment to do that, we have the skill set to do that, and there's no reason why we would say no. Anytime we can provide information to local municipalities as well, whether it's through the Illinois Safe Routes to School grant program, can we put some signage up? We'll support anything that increases student safety as they're walking to school, or even being bused at, if it's a bus stop issue. We would like to place a bus stop in a certain area because the position of that bus would be safer than the infrastructure that's currently there. We will ask them to do certain things as well. And if they can fund it, they will. And if they can't, they'll tell us, hey, let's apply for this grant and see if it can go that way. And we work with them and with being the sponsor of that. So it's a snapshot, ongoing. If a community member says, hey, I think you can look at this again, we will. Yeah.
Thanks.
Ms. Grover.
Thank you for this. I think it's so helpful for parents to understand all this information. From a parent's perspective, I know sometimes parents will question and say, my bus stop used to be here and now it's here, it's moved. So can you just explain why suddenly it used to be in front of their house, now it's moved down the street?
Yes, so we get that question a lot, especially during August and September. So we will position bus stops based on the demographic of where students are living. So for many years, let's say the bus stop was at the crosswalk in front of your house, but now you're the only student and there's 10 other students 7 houses down. So we try to centralize that for the number of students in that area so that everybody has kind of equal opportunity to that bus stop. We don't want to continuously place more bus stops on the route because that elongates the routes, which then makes us less efficient, which potentially could lead to more drivers and more vehicle need. So we're trying to centralize this. If you're a high school student, you may have to walk, maybe 1,000 feet instead of 200 feet. We try to focus on the age groups and certain parameters around that. How far can an elementary student walk to a bus stop versus a high schooler? But your bus stop may change because the students attending that bus stop may have changed, or the routing pattern may have changed. We may be coming into the neighborhood at a different way because we paired that up with a driver coming from, Mattia into, the neighborhood off a river, but now they're going to go to like a Gregory route. So they may be coming in differently and just positioning that bus stop where it makes it more efficient. But we're also looking at it from a safety too. So we're not going to put a student at a bus stop that is unsafe. So we're using, some common sense there as well.
And I know the other question parents always have is, I measured my house using Google Maps. It's 1.4,
so
not 1.5.
So there's a couple pieces to that, right? So it's where you measuring it, starting and ending. So if I just typed in an example for Still Middle School, well, that's going to put you in the front of the school. Well, the map point we use is where the buses drop off. So you have to measure to the back of the school, and that's a few hundred feet, which could mean the difference of 1.49 and 1.51. So when we get those questions, and we do in-field measurement verification. So we have a data measurement instrument tool that utilizes vehicle travel. So you have an odometer on your vehicle that connects to this device, and we're measuring from exit of your property to the map point, and we're getting as accurate as you can, that you possibly can. And then we'll compare that to geo points on a map, not necessarily Google Maps using certain algorithm.
The other question I have is, I know ISB sometimes has resolutions on e-buses, and other school districts, some of them are having them. Has there been any discussion? Would it lower costs, or what are your thoughts on that?
So electric buses. What the good thing is we applied for a grant with First Student, 4 years ago, through the Volkswagen grant, and we were awarded it. There is a lot of infrastructure planning and details that go behind that. So that's one. Second thing is we don't own the fleets. We can just request them. So the good thing is we requested one because we want to pilot it to see what that will look like based on a 3-tier operation. Sometimes, if it's an EC route, we have middle of the day. Can it get us through the whole day without adding more vehicles to the fleet for charters in the afternoon. So athletic teams or student activity clubs going to certain, we want to make sure that bus can be utilized and not have to have an increase in spare buses of diesel buses. One is coming in April, so we're going to get a 72 passenger e-bus in April, so that's pretty exciting. Right now, first student to location, so we have the charger. It got delivered about a month ago. They're working with ComEd to actually connect that and where they're going to put it, and where we have certain staging areas for the types of buses that we have, so we have to put it in. We may have to adjust some staging, so they're working on the map of that for our location on Sugar Drive here. But one's coming, and we're going to see how it goes, and if we can increase that. First student has an entire electrification department now that's focused on this, and if they can add more because it works for us. I've always said, I don't care what powers the bus as long as it's reliable, and if it saves some costs on versus fuel, that'd be wonderful.
Exciting.
Just on the cost, electric buses still are about 3 times the cost of a diesel
they are
bus.
expensive.
So we are reliant on grant funding to make that work, and realistically to make it work in the future. And kind of the first round of electrification, we really missed out on just because we weren't eligible for the grant. So the districts that you've seen maybe with a little bit more of an uptick of them so far, it's primarily been grant driven. Again, one of our comparable districts has adopted a few more using local funds, but again, that's a commitment they're making to spend 3 times the cost of a diesel bus to make that happen.
And it's their fleet, so they can buy what they want, right? We have to work with a contractor to say, hey, we want this, and then there's a whole series of infrastructure that has to go behind that. So they're open to it, we're open to it. Like I said, I just need it to be safe and reliable.
Yeah.
I don't want students sitting on the side of the road because it's not working.
Then my last question is, we just had a Neuqua presentation. They were talking about, Burkett's going to be encompassed in the whole Neuqua, so you're going to be having to reroute the whole Burkett and the Neuqua.
Yep. So we're anticipating some reduction in routes for Neuqua once the freshman student moves over to the main campus. Right now we have 2 route sets that service each building, but once they're combined, we're anticipating probably anywhere from 10 to 15 routes coming off.
That'd be
we
great.
won't
That
need.
would reduce costs then.
It would reduce costs, yep.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on the recognitions that you received, well-deserved, safety and innovation and operational improvements. I mean, when you look at the slides and the different changes that have been put in place, it's really pretty remarkable. Also impressive on-time results. That's hard to beat. And you have a very tough role, as many people have recognized, not only with transportation, but also doing the food and the hours that you have to pursue, like doing those rules. And the cold start, that was something new I hadn't heard about before. Is that done only when it's a certain temperature, or that?
Yeah, so with diesel fuel, it gels up at a certain temperature point. So we need to make sure that fuel is constantly moving, buses are moving, or else we'll have bigger problems because then you have to replace all the fuel filters and drain lines. So you're talking a whole set of issues. I'd have to call Dr. Talley and say, hey, might not be going to school today. So the cold start plan, I mean, first student has always done it. That's part of their operational. It's just we wanted to spotlight that work because people are coming in early. Now, the good thing is we're not using drivers that are coming on the road. So if they're a part of a cold start crew that comes in at 3:30, we're not making them now go on the road tired, right? So that's another safety aspect that we're making sure that we take into consideration.
Yeah, I guess I just never thought about that, and I pictured the drivers would come in a freezing cold bus and trying to get it started. But in a regular day, is the bus driver responsible for starting their bus?
Yeah, so they'll go out. Let's say it's 25 degrees outside. Unless we're sitting for winter break, we won't do cold start. But if it was winter break coming out in January where we're trying to restart school, we would have done a series of maybe 3 or 4 days of cold starts. If some of the buses don't start, maybe they need new batteries. All that would have happened prior to that first day of school.
Okay, and then to clarify, when you do a study, you said it's a point in time, but it's actually multiple points. Like you're not there
Yes.
just one time looking
No.
at the traffic and going away.
No.
You look at it over a series of days or weeks or whatever.
Yeah, so we're not just taking like a one-day count. We'll put
Right.
a device out, take a full week's worth of data, look at traffic patterns on a Wednesday compared to a Monday, especially with like late arrivals, and we'll take a, the high of that week. So we don't just take the average, we'll take the max vehicles for that week for a given period of time while students are exposed. We use that 1 hour. So if an elementary building starts at 9 o'clock, we'll take vehicle counts from 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning.
I also want to reemphasize that safety is our top priority in transportation, but we also have to be compliant with IDOT, and so that's why we're doing these studies. And the studies, in some cases, have resulted in routes being taken away, and that results in a cost reduction. So when people go, you're doing it for cost reduction, no, that's kind of the result of us working on compliance. Again, compliance is also with safety in mind. So sometimes we will go through periods where we are announcing some of the changes and we get a lot of letters from parents. So hopefully they'll go back and we can refer them to this meeting to watch for more information. But thank you for all of your work. I know this is a very, very challenging and tough area, and it's clear that you have an amazing amount of knowledge to help address families' concerns and issues when changes come in front of them. So thank you.
I just want to add a few things as superintendent. First of all, the relationships that we have with Organic Life and First Student are paramount. I thank Mr. Shipley and Mr. Johnson for what they do to foster that relationship, to continue it. We are the envy of many other school districts. I am aware of the fact of one school district outside of DuPage that was not able to start today because of transportation issues. That district has continued to have transportation issues, and we have not. The work that we've done with Organic Life has been great because of the relationship we have. Both of those organizations enjoy their relationship with us. We give them cachet because we are the 4th largest school district in the state of Illinois. And they enjoy the relationship that they have, the work that they've done with us because of those two men who are sitting over there. The work that Ron is out, Mr. Johnson is out at 3:30 in the morning doing those cold starts. He doesn't have to do it, but he's working with and alongside of them. And so I'm very pleased about that, and I cannot speak more highly of what they do and the relationships we have with those organizations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted Rhonda in 2 sentences because you had talked about, President Donahue, about compliance. And Ron, I've asked you this question in the past. The state is looking at districts across the state to see if they are being compliant with their routes. If they come in and find that we aren't being compliant with our routes, what ends up happening?
So,
Yeah.
2? Yeah. So school districts are audited by the State Board of Education on what they submit in their transportation claim. Part of that audit is IDOT Serious Safety Hazard Approval documentation. If you don't have it, you have to have a corrective action plan to put it in place.
And if they find that we're giving transportation and it
This
doesn't
is 2 more
qualify,
sentences, by the way. It's another
and
question.
if it doesn't qualify, they can actually come back and take money back from us because we've
They
been-
can. They can adjust your claim to reflect who should not be receiving transportation. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we have legislative advocacy and Board of Education update. Does anyone have any items?
2 things. Tomorrow I have a meeting, IASB, ISBE meeting, that board I sit on, not the evidence-based funding, the other one. Talking with Tony Sanders and his cabinet. We're discussing accountability, ISB legislative agenda, things that they're hearing about, federal funding update, and AI guidance work. So anything I learn, I will get the notes back to all of us. And then on February 3rd, we have our IASB DuPage Division dinner meeting.
I did sit in on IASB Advocacy meeting last week, and I am going to attend the Springfield Advocacy Day in
good.
March.
I know Ms. Bosdick is not able to attend tonight, but also everybody should think about if they have any topics to propose for the conference next November. And there was one suggestion already made that we'll share with the board, but anyone else has any ideas, we're usually always a presenter every year, so. All right. No other items. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay, a second.